How you doing? www.andrewmarkmusic.com. This is a series of posts on the Golden Rule. This is halfway through, number 6 of 12 through the 12 days of the winter solstice. I started this off talking about a non-theistic universe, that God doesn't exist, the possibility of nihilism and meaninglessness. And I'm going to cover, all the worldviews that I can within this 12 days. And we're halfway through, and we're going to start talking about the Cabal. Now, the Cabal that has come into existence within the context of this post will be premised on the idea where I began. It's atheism, secularism, God doesn't exist, and yet the Cabal does, and so we're going to tackle this issue from that angle. So, given the idea that all the trajectories are pointing to imminent disaster in the next 100 years, it might behoove us to figure out who this Cabal is and what they're up to and why they're doing it. Now, to me, it seems obvious that the Cabal is a group of atheist Jewish people aligned with Jesuits, aligned with Freemasons, and aligned with certain houses within Islam, especially the House of Saud. How long they go back, who knows? We'll just start with about 250 years ago. It's obvious that their main mode of operation was the central banking system and a top-down mode of civilization. Now, my own opinion is that the idea of democracy is just non-existent if this is true. I mean, go vote for whoever you want. It doesn't make any difference to them, And I'm going to touch on people like Richard Carrier, the atheists. I mentioned them in my first post, the secularists, and why they're dismissing this, why they don't seem concerned about it. It's just really strange to me that they view this as conspiracy theory and don't take it seriously, because I can tell you what's coming. Okay, I can tell you from all the trajectories what's coming. And I can, it's going to be an economic crash, nothing like the world's ever seen in the next 20 years, followed by World War III. Now, I know this because I can tell how they operate. All you have to do, go back 100 years ago, and you can see all the conditions are the same again. This giving them full control, turning the earth into a casino, crashing the economy because of it, leading to world wars. This is all coming again. And we dismiss this to our peril, in my opinion. I'm not really going to get into why they're dismissing this very, very likely scenario, but nevertheless, they are dismissing it, and I'm not going to go into possible reasons why. Now, this Cabal now has concentrated the wealth of the planet into, the hands of a few thousand billionaires, So we've never seen a wealth distribution this, stark, this, opposed. This is probably the number one reason things will crash, because you can't have an economy, a functional economy, when wealth gets this polarized. When you add in the usurious debt system of fiat currency and all its machinations throughout the 100 years, keeping the economics of fiat currency afloat by credit and debt, credit cards and stuff like that. This is all unsustainable and quite likely to crash. Now I want to mention, the cost of policing this dysfunction that they've set up. I mean, I'm not an economist. I can't do the math, but if you think about the cost of police, healthcare, all of this, where they've just created this massive, unhealthy worldwide system, it has to be enormous to police it. The people they have in prison, it's got to be staggering. And if you compared the cost of that to what it would cost to have a healthy system, I would say, I don't know this, but it seems reasonable to me that it would cost less to have a healthy system, and that's basically what this whole series is about. To have a golden rule economy, what that means. Now, I can tell you what it means to me. It means to me that what was given freely here, the earth to live on, minimal aggravation to get shelter not too long ago, food, all you had to do was grow it, all of it free. Now it's all become a means of exploitation for these billionaires, for the cabal. And this all started, 250 years ago, roughly, kicking, everybody off the land and charging rents. As they kicked everybody off the land, people disconnected from, learning how to supply food for themselves. So they've taken over that means of control, food production. The cost of education, especially under late neoliberalism, has just turned into lifelong debt servitude. And the cost of the medical establishment, to the cost of implementing that to have this sick society has to be staggeringly enormous. So I would argue that to have an alternate system where all these basic needs, I call them the four pillars of shelter, food, education, and healthcare, if they were taken off this cabal's coercive and exploitive means of survival, then I think we would have a sustainable future. The other element of this is just the environmental collapse. Now, I'm not going to get into how much of carbon pollution is a part of the cabal's tax agenda. It probably is to a certain degree, but all you have to do, if you live in a big city, go to one of the big cities in India and go outside and breathe that air and look at, anybody who's going to deny that pollution's a problem with 10 billion people on the planet coming soon is an idiot. Okay, they're just idiots, and they're not even worth listening to. So the cumulative effects of pollution, all of this, to me, is extraordinarily lowly evolved behavior, almost like a obsessive compulsive disorder of this cabal. Now, imagine that indeed God doesn't exist, and yet they're still doing this. I mean, how insane is that? How insane would you be to do this when truly God doesn't exist, and yet you're using religion to implement this? And it seems clear to me what the end game is. The end game here is some kind of Israeli Messiah, extraordinarily bizarre that they would continue to do this century after century, millennia after millennia, when there's no historical evidence for any of these stories being true, and yet that's their end game. And at that point, the only thing I could say there is this whole mode is extraordinarily uncreative compared to what I would be a healthy economy to be would be a creative entrepreneurship where, I'm not exploiting you, and you're not exploiting me for a place to live, for food, for healthcare and education. Come on. We should be able to do better than that. We should be able to find creative ways to make money. And in my global common civilization, what I'm arguing for is just that, is just do away with the cabal's mode of operation when it comes to humanity's basic needs. And I think if we did that, we could survive. We could survive in a godless universe over the next 100 years, and we could survive in a way that was beneficial for everyone. Okay, now I know that they have their godless agenda here, and that's to just pack us all in cities and monitor every move we make. This is extraordinarily bizarre. At that point, and I will do this, it's so bizarre that it's hard to believe that the atheist, non-God theory of existence is true. I mean, it just is baffling to any human mind that has any capability of rational thought that they would do this under that scenario. So we're going to get into alternate scenarios of who these people are, why they're doing it, and tackle the issue of God, tackle the issues of extraterrestrial involvement in this, as the last 6 days, I get into the finishing up this series. Anyway, that's number 6, introducing the Cabal within a godless universe and in the insanity of what they're up to. www.andrewmarmusic.com. Peace out, peace the fuck out. Yo!